Hey everybody, I'm back with another vlog post, and today I'm doing part 2 of the Twilight Zone series. In the first video I talked about my love of the original series and how it's my all-time favorite show, but today we're going to be talking about the 1980s where the Twilight Zone got a little bit of a revival. If you have been enjoying my videos, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell for notifications when I post new videos, like them, comment on them. I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. One little side note, it's kind of a silly thing, but you might notice I try to wear a different shirt all the time. Rebecca made a point about that, which I don't really think is important because truthfully, I'm recording these videos at night. On a couple of them, I'm wearing my like around the house T-shirt, so I don't think anybody cares about my fashion. I certainly don't, but I'm sticking with this shirt because I'm kind of doing these videos back to back. Not that anybody cares. I just kind of wanted to fill you in if that is one of those things that you pick up on. Anyway, okay, back to the video. So in the 1980s, Twilight Zone had been off the air since the early 60s. They tried making a movie. What they did was they took four of the more popular skits from the original series and kind of mushed them together into one movie. It was okay. I didn't think it was really all that great. Unfortunately, it was very tragic because the actor Vic Morrow, he and two stunt children, or not stunt, two child actors were killed in an onset accident. They were decapitated by a helicopter in this segment they were filming about Vietnam. Well, not about Vietnam, but that particular part. So it's kind of got a reputation with like a haunted set, and there was just all this kind of weird stuff going on. Anyway, I really wasn't all that impressed with it. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't like the worst thing in the world. If you're a huge Twilight Zone fan, I would say it's worth checking out. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't think it was anywhere near as good as the original series or even the 1980s series that followed it. So, a couple of years later, my love for the Twilight Zone is well established. They come out with the 1980s series. This one lasted 3 seasons. I really love it. I mean, it's not as good as the original series, but I mean, great episodes in their own right. There was some in there that really weren't that great, but so many famous actors from the 80s, the 90s before that went on to like big careers. Not to say got their start, but they were in this. So um, there was so many episodes. Six of them really stand out. So I'm gonna talk about my top 6 episodes in this one, not in any particular order. My last video, I kind of went over the time that I usually like to try to keep it right about 20 minutes so people don't start getting bored with them. So if I did go a few minutes over, I apologize. So I'm going to try to keep this one a little bit shorter. Not in any particular order, but let me tell you about my top 6 of this one. I will say the intro for this one scared the living crap out of me as a kid. You watch it on YouTube, you might say, "Oh, what's so scary about it?" There's just something about the music, the vibe, the intro. When you're a little kid, it scared the crap out of me. Anyway, so one episode I really liked. I think it was in the 3rd season. It's called The Cold Encounters. Basically, way in the future. There's a planet where there's a colony on this one planet where some kind of disease breaks out, and they have to bring medicine in a hurry. They have to get out there and deliver this medicine. Well, the ship, is calculated as far as fuel and weight for it's made for one person to pilot out there, drop the medicine, and come back. And it's like has to be like a super precise calculation because it's going so far across the universe. So the one guy's going, and he just kind of notices something is off, and comes to find out there's a stowaway, and it's the sister of a guy that's working on this planet. And he's like, "You can't be here. You're gonna jeopardize the whole mission. We're not gonna have enough fuel." Da da da. They go through this whole kind of moral, ethical thing is what they're gonna do with her because if she stays, she's gonna cause the entire mission to fail. Everybody on this planet's gonna die. But he doesn't want to like kill her. I mean, he doesn't want to do it. But it's like there's this whole decision. What am I going to do? So as they get a little bit closer, they radio into this planet. She gets to talk to her brother. She doesn't. I don't remember if she lets on what's going on, but she just wanted to say, hey, I haven't seen you, little brother. I love you, or older brother, whatever it is. Um, she sends her goodbyes, and unfortunately he has to flush her out the airlock because if he doesn't, the whole mission's gonna fail and everybody on the, on the planet's going to die. So I thought that was a great episode. Twilight Zone, I meant to mention this in the first episode. When it comes to science fiction, they have some of the best sci-fi episodes and sets and props and costumes. Just like, if you love that cheesy 1950s and 1960s sci-fi where you see the strings holding up the ship, which I do, Twilight Zone is right up your alley. Okay, another episode I really like. It was called Extra Innings. It had an actor called Mark Singer. I think he was in that show V. He kind of well known in the 70s and 80s. He's an ex-baseball player. I think he had been injured or something, and his career was cut short. You know, kind of baseball was his whole life. That was all he knew how to do, and you know he didn't know how to do anything else. So his wife's kind of ragging on him that he's just kind of moping around, not doing anything. You know, and he kind of befriends the neighbor's daughter, this little girl, and you know they talk baseball because the little kid's like a big baseball fan or whatnot, and somehow or another she comes across, or one of them comes across this magic baseball card, and when you touch it, like it transports him back in time, because on the face of the card it's him basically, but they're like, well, who the heck is this guy? You know, like it looks like exactly like me, but obviously it's not a relative or whatnot. Anyway, he gets transported back in time, and you know this is like the early 1900s, 1910s, so he can still play in this era. He's not hurt, you know, whatever, and you know, so they come back to the future, and they make this trip a few times, and you know, he's trying to tell his wife, and of course the wife doesn't believe him and whatnot. So ends up that he just goes back in time, and the little girl rips the card, so he stays back in that time, and he can resume his career and you know, live out the rest of his life happy. So I thought that was really, really cool episode. Being a baseball fan as a kid, it definitely spoke to me. One episode that I really loved also was called The Once and Future King. This was about Elvis Presley. So there's a guy in the current day. I don't remember if he was just a huge fan of Elvis Presley or if he was like a Elvis impersonator or something. Somehow, some way, he gets transported back to the 1955 Memphis or whatever, and he actually runs into Elvis. So he tells him like he's his long lost brother or cousin, whatever, and they kind of bond and get to be friendly or whatnot. Somehow, through the course of the episode, he ends up accidentally killing Elvis, so he has to take over for Elvis. And I just thought that was kind of cool because when it comes back around to the future, he's just like miserable and, just can't stand life and everything. So that was kind of cool. Another one I really like was called Quarantine. This was kind of a neat little episode. It's something where there's like a nuclear war, so all like the popular people and all like the highfalutin people and the politicians, whatever, they all retreat to the secret bunker while the rest of the world is just nuclear city, fallout city. So I think it's like a few hundred years later. This guy, I don't remember what the story was, but Scott Wilson, who was Herschel on The Walking Dead, younger then obviously, he gets woken up and he's like a computer programmer or something, but the world is kind of it's sort of like Amish, sort of like there's no weapons, there's no technology, they're just farmers, but they have abilities. I don't know if it was because of the nuclear fallout or whatever, but they have like one guy can like see X-ray vision, another one can operate just with his hands, whatever. So they're telling him that there's some kind of comet or something that's heading back to Earth, that if he can't rig this old military defense system, that they're going to die, that the comet's going to hit, everybody's going to die, So he really didn't want to do it, but, they talk him into doing it. And just as it's about to hit, it turns out that it's not a comet, it's a space shuttle returning to Earth. The time dilation thing, if you're not familiar with that, like the ones that had gone into the bunker, go into the spaceship, whatever, they go out into outer space, and even though hundreds of years have passed on Earth for them, it's only been a couple of years because of time dilation, space travel, look it up. So he ends up destroying it because they had told him it was an asteroid or whatever. So that was a cool one. The last two episodes I'm going to talk about, these are freaking awesome episodes. One is called Dealer's Choice. This is, it's got Morgan Freeman. It's got, what's his name? Garrett Morris, who a lot of younger people might know him from the show Two Broke Girls. He played Earl, at the cashier. Dan Hedaya. He was in Cheers back in the day. He played Carla's original husband. He was in one of the Alien movies. He's one of those. He was in Commando. He was like the, with the bad accent, the bad guy. If you saw him, you know him. Anyway, there's like four friends, old guys sitting around, kind of playing poker or whatnot. One guy gets up to go to the bathroom, and this guy walks in, and he's like, "Hey, will you deal me in?" And they just have a bad feeling about this guy. Like something is just off. Something is wrong. But whatever. They kind of deal him in as the other guy was like in the kitchen or whatever. And they're having their poker game, and he's cleaning house, and they make a wager. Kind of jokingly, like, well, if you lose, you give me your soul or whatnot. And it turns out that the guy is the devil. So there's this poker game with the devil, which was really, really good. I don't want to spoil any more with it, but that was a great episode. Probably my favorite episode of the series. And like I said, there's so many, not as many great episodes as there was in the original series, but there's a good 20, 30 episodes in here that were really good. Like I said, it didn't last as long. It only lasted like 3 seasons, but my favorite episode of the entire series, hands down, is called A Matter of Minutes. So a couple gets into a car accident or something like that, and they kind of skip time. Now, what I mean is that, we humans, we perceive time, reality. Okay, here I am, I'm touching my hands, But the reality is time has to be constructed every single moment of every day, every aspect. So when I say they skip time, like they sort of pause and they see time being constructed, and it's like these little Blue Man Group looking dudes, and just no face though. They're just these little blue construction workers, and they're like, hitting the bumper of the car. They're destroying the front of the other car, because the people had gotten in a car accident, and like they're doing all this stuff, and they're manipulating everything, like, so the people who were in the accident are like in the middle of time as it's being constructed. It's a weird concept. It's hard to explain, but it's really freaking cool. So like they meet the foreman. He's like, you're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to see this. So check that episode out. I haven't seen it in a while, but really, really cool episode. So, okay, well, since this one is a little shorter than I planned, I'll go ahead and I'll talk about the 2000 series. So this is one I didn't even know about. When I was in the Army, this is about the time I was in the Army, I wasn't even aware of this until really only a couple of years ago. And the box set, because I think that only lasted a season or two. Also, it was out of print, like super hard to find. I was lucky I found it on eBay for like $30, whereas everywhere else it was selling for like $200 because it's out of print DVDs. It wasn't bad. It really wasn't anywhere as good as the original series, or even as the 80s series. Like the quality sort of went down as you went, but I mean there were still a couple of good episodes in there. I would say offhand, I'd say there's about 6 or 7 that I really liked. I want to say there was like 40, maybe like 43 episodes, something like that. But the ones I really liked kind of stick out to me. One was called Sanctuary. Same thing, car accident. Traffic jam. Guy gets out of his car. He can't stand it. And he walks like into the bushes to take a leak. But when he comes out of the bushes, he's in like this. There's like a mansion, and there's nobody around. It's all peaceful and quiet. And he's like, well, what happened? He tries to find his way back out to his car. Nothing, And then another lady shows up, and they realize they're like trapped here. They can't go anywhere. They don't really like each other at first, but they kind of get along. And time goes on, they kind of fall for each other, and they're in this mansion having fun, living their life in peace. And then this like biker chick, tatted up, slutty, sexy kind of thing comes into the picture, and they don't really. The other lady's kind of threatened by her at first, because she's kind of flirting with the guy, but he's resisting her at first, and then eventually he kind of relents, and he gives in to temptation, and he sleeps with her or whatever, and they realize that they had been in the Garden of Eden, and because he or whatever ate the apple, they're thrown out and they're back in the real world. So that was kind of a really cool one. There was one called and it had that I can't remember. Oh, what's that actor's name? Anyway, had like it's called Harsh Mistress. It was sort of like this haunted guitar. Like anybody any musician that's ever used this guitar has met like a tragic end. So it's like one to the other, and it's like the guitar kind of possesses you and makes you do all this evil stuff. sort of like that movie Christine-ish, you know, something like that. So that was kind of cool. There was one in the, it might have been the first episode. I don't remember. It was called The Lineman. It's kind of like an electrician doing some work up on a pole. Like he gets shocked, but it gives him like all these abilities where he can like, I don't remember if he could read minds or he just gains all these abilities, you know. So he goes from like this lowly nobody to like this big famous guy, you know, and then it all kind of falls apart. So that was a good one. There was one called God, for the life of me, I should know this. I should have written this down. Sunrise. It was called Sunrise. It was one of the last episodes in the series where there's like 4 teens. They go kind of cave exploring, and they come across I don't remember if it was like Aztec or something, you know, but they trigger something and they think they've set this curse upon the world. Well, all of a sudden, complete darkness and like, you know, there's fires, all this crap starts happening all over the planet, but they're stuck in this cave, you know. And so they're trying to research. I guess they had a notebook with them or something. They're trying to research. Well, how can we stop this? How can we get out of it? You know. But they had like a radio, so they kind of were aware of what was going on in the outside world. And they decide that they have to make a human sacrifice. So they have to sacrifice one of the group. You know. And they're all kind of, well, who do we draw straws? Who do we decide? Da, da, da. In the end, they end up sacrificing somebody, and then like minutes later, everything goes back to normal, which had nothing to do with them. So they ended up killing somebody for no reason. So that was kind of cool. There was one with Jessica Simpson where she's playing a babysitter. I think it was called The Collection or The Collector. And she's babysitting like this kind of very creepy, odd little girl. Sorry. And, you know, they've had these babysitter after babysitter, and it doesn't work out. And just, you know, and she's got this really creepy doll collection also. So Jessica Simpson's trying to care for her, be kind to her, you know, kind of treat her differently than you know, other babysitters have. In the end, it doesn't work out, and Jessica Simpson gets turned into a doll, and along with all the other babysitters, she's up in the cabinet then, and they're looking for a new babysitter. One I really liked had I can't remember, Xander something. He was in the X-Files. He was in The Walking Dead as one of the Hilltop Town leader. I can't remember his name. You'd know him if you see him, but he's a magician, and he's famous for doing this thing called the Pharaoh's Curse. And this younger magician who's trying to like usher him out of his way so that he can be the next big thing is trying to say, hey, can you teach me this curse, you know? And he's like, oh, it's like the oldest, most forbidden curse. Trick. I'm sorry, not curse, trick. You know, so he finally relents and agrees to teach this young guy this trick, which is a life-altering thing. I'm just going to leave it at that. Check that episode out. That's really good. But my favorite one was very difficult to watch. You know, I actually wrote about this many years ago on Facebook when Rebecca and I first watched it. I was kind of like, damn, like this was risque. Not in a sexual way, just ugh. Anyway, mother and father, I don't remember if the little girl was sick or so. They needed money for something. Like they were desperate for money. So the mother was, you know, taking the kid to school, to the doctor, whatever. She gets kidnapped. Well, all of a sudden, you know, she can't get a hold of her husband. She can't get a hold of whatever. She tries to tell the police, and the police are kind of, they're sort of like not helpful. Well, then, what's his face? Newman from Seinfeld, from Jurassic Park, Wayne Knight shows up with a camera crew, and he's like, "How much do you love your kid?" And she's like, "Of course I love my kid." She's like, "Well, what are you doing? What are you willing to do to get your kid back? We can film it. We can show you, you know." So it's sort of like an ambush reality show. So she goes through all these messed up things to get her kid back, and they keep, you know, oh well, if you do this, you'll get 100,000. If you do, it was messed up, people. It was messed up. I don't even want to spoil that one. You guys should see that for yourself. It was really, really messed up. Well, okay, I was able to combine 2 videos into one. This is part 2. I'm going to wrap this one up. The next video, I'm going to quickly talk about the new Twilight Zone that's on, which not really all that crazy about. I'm going to talk about the show that Rod Serling did right after the original Twilight Zone called The Night Gallery, and then I'm going to talk about the spiritual successor to the Twilight Zone show on Netflix called Black Mirror. That's interesting. So if you like the video, once again, please subscribe, hit the notification button, so whenever I do post new videos, you'll be able to check them out. You know, like I said, like the video, give me some comments. I always love to hear feedback from you guys, and I will see you in the next video wrapping up the series.